Before we talk about computers and logic, we first need to talk about electricity. Not the abstract idea, but the physical thing. Electricity begins miles and miles away while it moves through copper and steel as organized charge. So, let me break it down for you. Inside this machine, electricity changes purpose. It's no longer just for energy, it becomes information as ones and zeros. Voltage representation. 0 volts represents 0/nothing. However, in computers, this voltage is around 0.2 volts because of minor transistor inefficiencies, but it's kept at 0 as much as possible. 1 volt represents 1/something. However, like the 0, this is around 1.2 volts to account for the inefficiencies in the system. What's a bit? A bit is a physical state stored or transmitted in hardware. For example, in this 2-bit system, it has a value of 0 and 1, which is listed as 0, 1. With all this in mind, why binary? Well, in a binary system, the two states are differentiated faster because each transistor can only detect either 0 or 1. Anything in the middle will only make the transistors release a small portion of those electrons passing through that aren't supposed to pass through. This also aids in noise margins by a clearly defined on and off state that makes the transition of each state reliable. By reducing all information into 2 clearly defined states, we gain reliability. The main reason why we use binary in the first place is because it's the only way for a computer to have logic, but we'll get into that later. Positional value. Binary is positional, just like decimal. The more numbers there are to the left, the higher the number. But unlike decimal, instead of using powers of 10, it uses powers of 2 because it only has 2 states, on and off. So here's an example of this. we have an 8-bit system or a byte of data in numbered form, 101101110, which equals 182. Negative numbers can also be represented using a system called 2's complement, but we'll explore that later. While the ASCII uses byte representation, the waveform sampling uses bits as the distance in millimeters that the speaker moves in a specified hertz. Text, sound, and more can be represented as numbers, and numbers are just ones and zeros. What's logic? Well, information can't be useful unless it's transformed. The computer must compare, combine, and decide. That's logic. In the 1800s, there was this person named George Boole. He showed us that logic can be expressed algebraically, only using 0 and 1 types of transistors. Before we get to talk about logic, you must first learn the 2 types of transistors, the N-type and the P-type. The N-type FinFET transistor, when 1 volt is applied, electricity can flow through the channel. In the P-type FinFET transistor, when 0 volt is applied, electricity can flow through the channel. This is the P-type symbol. This is the N-type symbol. This is a NOR gate. This is a NAND gate. And this is a NOT gate. And finally, this is an XOR gate. To turn the NAND and the NOR gates into AND and OR gates, we just need to add a NOT gate in front of it. Why do we even care about these gates in the first place? How could they be used to make a computer? Well, glad you asked that, because they could be used to create circuits, which are the next building block of computers. For now, I'm going to show you how to make the full adder, which has 3 inputs and 2 outputs that are both in Boolean notation. As you know, the physical device that implements logic is called a transistor. Modern processors contains billions of these things, billions of these microscopic switches. Computers operate in synchronized steps, all controlled by this clock signal. It's from RAM to CPU to GPUs. This square-waved clock drives all different types of components throughout the computer, like for example, memory, as this D flip-flop here. And this leads us to combinational versus sequential logic. Combinational logic is just input to output logic. Sequential is dependent on its stored state. Like this D flip-flop here, memory is just logic that feeds back into itself. Like this flip-flop stores 1 bit and keeps on updating it each clock cycle. Now, let's zoom out to the conceptual level. Modern computers follow a model popularized by John von Neumann, where instructions and data are stored in memory and processed sequentially each clock cycle. So it starts from the input, then it goes to memory, then to CPU, and then to memory again, and then to the output, which is from the GPU to normally a monitor. What's a program? Well, it's a sequence of instructions stored as binary numbers that tell the CPU what to do. Here's a CPU instructional set that I just made up. So we have the instructions like add, subtract, and, or, load, store, and branch, and their binary representation. For example, this is a representation of an 8-bit RAM register. The CPU starts at the top and uses the last 3 bits for instructions. And since the last 3 bits is 000, it is an add operation. So the computer puts the 5-bit digit into the arithmetic unit. Let's say there's already another 5-bit number already in the unit, 00110. It just adds them up using arithmetic unit, and then the CPU does another cycle and reads the next number in the RAM. Let's go back in time to the birthplace of the first computer, the ENIAC. These early computers were large, inefficient, and fragile because they used vacuum tubes to control electron flow. But the main principle was identical: control electricity to form logic. This is what a vacuum tube looks like. So basically how the vacuum tube worked is that this anode here is the outer structure, which is the gray part, and the cathode here, where the glowing center is where all the electrons come from. And this wire mesh here is the most important part, because if there's a binary of 0, electrons pass through, which creates a magnetic field. This magnetic field prevents the cathode electrons from going to the anode. However, if the wire mesh is at 0, the magnetic field is gone, and it allows the cathode electrons to pass through to the anode, completing the circuit. A funny byproduct of the high voltage is that when electrons are allowed to pass through from the cathode to the anode, it releases a lot of light. In this series, we'll be making a computer from the ground up. This first episode was only for you to be familiar with the key topics about computers, but in the next few episodes, we will be making our own computer, starting from episode 2, Physics and Chemistry of Transistors. Then to episode 3, Logic Gates from Transistors. Then to episode 4, How Data is Stored. Then to episode 5, CPU Architecture. And then episode 6, GPU architecture. And then episode 7 is the motherboard. And then episode 8 will be combining all the previous episodes and making our own computer and running a program on that computer.